Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside World War 85, Volume 1, Storming the Gap. This is a game designed by Keith Trachtenberg and published by Lock and Load Publishing. This is the first volume in a planned series of multiple titles which will be coming out through Kickstarter as time progresses. But this is the first one, and it is a big, beefy package. 17 pounds gets you Storming the Gap, you get the expansion box, and you also get the solo assistant. And just to show you how big this box really is, because it may look big on the screen, but you really can't get an appreciation until you compare it to something else. This is a coin box. This is a distant plane. And I'm going to push it all the way up to the top so you can see there is definitely a distinct difference as far as length of the box and even width of the box. So I'm going to push it all the way up to the top here. And that shows you how big this box really is. It is chock full of goodies, and we're going to go through them all here today. Let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game is all about. Storming the Gap is the first volume in the World War 85 series of games of fast and furious platoon-level combat. Set in 1985 in an alternate history of World War III, when the Warsaw Pact armies storm across the border of East Germany in a powerful attempt to seize West Germany and the whole of free Europe. The World War 85 system features a unique combat system that involves die rolls by both attacking units and defending units, which keeps both players engaged throughout the game. Die rolls are compared and hits applied quickly, as all of the information you need to fight your units is on the counters. No combat results table is necessary. Initiative, formation activation, random turn length, and close air support are all smoothly integrated. Fight the first battles of World War III, from desperate delaying actions by U.S. Armored Cavalry and West German Panzer Grenadiers to fierce local counterattacks by ad hoc armored companies and battalions. Launch lightning strikes by heliborne Soviet air assault troops to secure roads for massive armored columns to press into West Germany. Can you skillfully use your close air support and attack helicopter support units to press for the ultimate advantage in each battle? 20 different game situations are provided in Storming the Gap, showing you battles that might have been, using the equipment of 1985 at platoon and battery level. Rules of play cover variable turn lengths, random formation activation, point blank and long weapon ranges, line of sight, and much, much more. All in a moderate complexity, fast, yet flexible game system. And to make this the ultimate World War III platoon tactical level kit, a battle generator is included to accompany points listings and geomorphic maps to unleash your imagination and fight the battles that only you can design. It's all here, and you are in command. And here's an example of some of the units that you're going to have in the game. It has a complexity of about 5, solitaire suitability is about 6, and it comes with 600 counters, 8 geomorphic maps, a core rule manual, a scenario and module book, 16 11 by 17 inch player aids, 5 8.5 by 11 inch player aids, and it is for 1 to 2 players, 1 to 2 hour playing time, and ages 14 and up. So let's take a look inside and see what you get. All right, we get our module rules and scenarios, full color, our rule book, also full color, whole host of geomorphic maps, a whole boatload of player aids, 7 counter sheets, 2 decks of formation cards, and our dice. So let's set up the maps, take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at some of the maps that come with the game. There are 8 geomorphic maps included. I've set up 4 so you can see winter and non-winter side by side just to get an idea of what they look like. Road networks pop real easy, so do the cities. The terrain features are very easy to distinguish and understand, which will help a line of sight. And you can also read the hex numbers very easily, and they don't intrude on the overall terrain. Beautifully done maps, and they're all labeled so you can easily find them when you're setting up your scenarios, and also when you create your own scenarios, you can make notes as to which maps to use. Now we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. There are a lot of them, so we're not going to do a deep dive, but we will look through each one of them. This is the Soviet Union National Unit Table. Each nation in the game has one of these. This gives you a breakdown of the cost, unit name, description, the steps the unit has, headquarter and leader bonus, defense type, transport, so on and so forth, as you can see across the board. And these are double-sided. On the backhand side continues on further units for the Soviet Union. And they continue on over to the second sheet. And on the backhand side you have the platoon and headquarters and attachment breakdown. Then we have the East German unit table. More units on the backhand side of that. And East German units conclude on the second sheet with a platoon and headquarters and attachments breakdown also on the back. And we have the U.S. unit table with its units on front and back, and the last of the units on the second sheet. And on the back of that, we also have the platoons and headquarters and attachments breakdown. And finally, we have the West Germany National Unit chart. Look at their units on the back, and the last of the units on the second sheet with the platoon and headquarters and attachments breakdown on the back. Then we have the unit and card reference sheet. This gives you a breakdown of all the different types of units in the game, how to read the counters, and also how to read the formation cards down at the bottom. Everything is now done through color bands. There is no more chit pull. It is now a card pull. Works the same, but all the information you need is right there on the unit formation card. Gives you the full strength HQ command range, the reduced strength HQ command range, and the morale training value. And on the back is the marker reference, which gives you a breakdown of all of the admin counters in the game. Then we have the terrain effects chart, which gives you a listing of all terrain in the game and its effects on movement and combat. It continues on to the back sheet, and it concludes on the second sheet. As you can see, a lot of information is provided in these player aid cards that saves you from having to dig through the rulebook. Then we have the line of sight examples and height reference, a greatly detailed example of how to use line of sight and height differences in the game, so that way you can easily reference it during play. And further examples continue on the backside. Now we're down to the smaller player aid cards. We have the formation card inventory, which gives you a listing of all of the formation cards that come with your game. Then we have the 3 player aid cards that are used for tracking casualties, suppressed units, ammo, weather track, turn track, and your formation deck. You can use these individually, or if you back the Kickstarter, you can use a neoprene mat that came with it. Then we have the battle generator, which will allow you to quickly make your own scenarios on the fly. The sequence of play card, which details every step you'll take during play. Then the battlefield events table. It will give you different events that'll happen to create a little bit more chaos in your combat. Then there's the missile ammo usage chart, special ability triangle reference. On the backhand side, we have the move and fire summary chart, indirect fire abbreviations, and the indirect fire summary chart. Then we have the weather change table, direct fire modifiers, and last but not least, a player aid card that lists every die roll in the series. So it is a great reference to use during play to understand all of the different die rolls that are available in play. And we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. There are 7 of them. As you can see, nice thick chipboards, so these are going to be nice thick counters. Pre-rounded even, so you don't have to worry about clipping them. The colors pop nicely, as do the unit images, and more importantly, the numbers are easier to read than they were in previous iteration of World at War, where it was much more difficult to read, especially at any sort of distance, and they pop out real easy, and that's what the thickness is going to look like on the table. So these are going to be real fun to use. Then we have our West German units along with some Soviets, admin counters and markers that you'll use, Soviet and East German units, and the last of the Soviet units. And the last 2 counter sheets are primarily markers and admin counters you'll use in the game. And we'll take a look inside the rules. This is a 140-page rulebook, and before your eyes bug out of your head and you freak out and say, Mo, 140 pages, that's too much, man. 140 pages of large font, lots of images. Everything we've gotten from the player aid cards so far that we've looked at is in here. All of the illustrated examples of play in here. Developers' notes, designers' notes, all of that stuff is in here. That's where you get 140 pages. The rules themselves are probably about 60 pages, maybe 70 pages. But again, large font, lots of illustrated examples of play, lots of images. That definitely makes it seem bigger than it is. And we'll take a look inside and you'll see what I'm talking about here. And inside you have your table of contents. Everything is color-coded with these color-coded hexes. And if you wanted to say, for example, look at movement, action, and movement, which is section 9 on page 44, you can either go to page 44 or go right to the green hexes. And here we are in 44 and 45 for the movement, action, and movement section. And then you'll notice here there's battlefield event friction card, which is in blue text, onboard indirect fire action, indirect fire, battle generator. All these are in blue text. There are some other subsections here that are also in blue. That denotes new information from previous versions. So just something to keep in mind. If you're already familiar with the series, you'll be able to pick it up easier by just looking at the blue sections. Inside we have our counter references as a breakdown of the counters, just like we saw in the player aid cards. Counter reference here continues on for several pages. And then we have community support and resources for lock and load. We get into the general concepts of the game on page 15. Breaks down your time scale, map scale. As you can see, large font, so it's not anything to be too intimidated by, not that dense of information, although there is a lot of information here, as it should be. This is the series rulebook. Once you know the series rules down, every volume in the series would be much easier for you to pick up. All you'll have to learn is the module rules. And we're seeing here a lot of examples with illustrated examples of all the information you'll have. And then you have initiative phase, operations phase, and we just continue on through the different phases here. Interception, anti-aircraft fire, ordnance expenditure, electronic warfare markers, removing electronic warfare markers, battlefield event, battlefield friction, applying events or friction, formation cards, refresh steps, command ranges, how to understand those, missile reload steps, offboard artillery steps, and then your actions, movement, action, and movement, which we just looked at a moment ago when we were looking at the color-coded hexes, ground and amphibious movement, different types of flying. You have map of the earth, hovering, flying, landed, and all of these are explained to you here. Loading and unloading troops, combat liftoff, AP and HE firepower, which one to use, line of sight, as we saw on a player aid card. You'll have all the examples, the same ones you have in the book here, so that way you don't have to crank the book open to find this section. You can use the player aid card, which expedites your play a lot more, makes it easier to just keep playing. Maximum defense bonus, maximum to hit penalty, maximum FP dice penalty. These are new. As you can see, the blue section there was all new information. Missile ammo check, opportunity fire, move and fire action, assault actions, assault modifiers, applying hits in an assault, onboard indirect fire abbreviations. I'm kind of just flipping through it. I'm not going to look at every section because there's a lot of pages to flip through, and I want you to get a look at the rule book. You can actually download it yourself from the Lock and Load site if you wanted to read through it. Then you have some optional rules, electronic warfare advantage, how to set up your scenarios game, record log sheets, playable areas. And this, it gets into setting up the scenario on page 95. Your orders of battle, how to understand those scenario rules. And then there's a video bootcamp series, which is done by Nate Rogers, the Gimpy Gamer. Definitely worthwhile checking out. He's done one for Lock and Load Tactical. He's done one for World at War, and also doing one for Space Infantry Resurgence. So easy way to find out if you like the game is just watch the rules explained to you on screen by Nate. Then we have the glossary here at the back, acknowledgments, design and development notes. Then we get into the index on page 105, and that's going to go on for several pages. And that goes on to page 122. And then you have the starter kit scenario is included in the game also. You can get the starter kit from Lock and Load, or you can get it right from the rulebook, print it out yourself. So this way, if you don't have the game and you were curious about checking it out, you can print out all of these pieces yourself and see if this game is for you. And I love that Lock and Load does that. They're making it very open for you to see if you like the game or not. There's all the rest of the player aid cards. Then we have our credits at the back. And then we're here at the back of the core rulebook. And last, we'll take a look at the module rules and scenarios. This is a 132-page book, but all of it, again, big text, lots of images, and the majority of it are the scenarios. And inside we have our table of contents that lists out all of the scenarios and the module rules themselves. Module rules are only 2 pages, pages 6 and 7. Scenario setup is from pages 8 to 11. And then you start off with scenario 1, storming the gap, on page 12. And then the final scenario, scenario 21, is Whirlwind on page 114. There's a couple of appendices for your units, notes on the Soviet liberators, and who are the leaders in the game. But as I said, over 95% of it is to deal with the scenarios themselves. On the right-hand side, we have a campaign map. And this is a breakdown that shows you where each of these scenarios is in relation to West Germany and the overall invasion of the Soviet forces. Then we have our introduction, the scenario guide. These are the module rules here on 6 and 7. It explains commandos and Spetsnaz, high rate of fire HE, advanced night fighting capabilities, and then you get into your formation deck, game length, and order of battle. And then explanation of scenario rules, victory conditions, controlling a hex, and then we start off with scenario 1, storming a gap. There's a nice little intro to the scenario. It again shows you on a campaign map where that scenario is, orders of battle for the Soviets and for the United States, and then the scenario essentials, your objectives, and victory conditions along with the maps that you'll need for each scenario. Then each scenario is going to follow the same format, so you can just get an idea of the orders of battle, who's going to be in each fight, and just taking a look and see this is going to be a big fight, small fight, depending on your time, how much you want to spend playing the game. If you have an hour, half hour, 2 hours, whatever, then you can choose which battle to play here, or you can play them all in order and just work your way through. Then we go all the way down to the end of the rulebook where we get to Scenario 21, Whirlwind. We have the orders of battle for the United States. For the Soviets, this is going to be a big battle. So if you have time and want to play in a very big battle, this will be a lot of fun to play this one. Then we get to the appendix where it breaks down each nation's units. This is the East Germans. This gives you the unit name and a description of it. We have the Soviets over here. Continue on over to the Americans and on to the West Germans. Then we have Appendix B, which is notes on the Soviet liberators, quote-unquote liberators. And then Appendix C, who are the leaders in storming the gap. Then we have our credits. And that is a look at everything you get inside of World War 85, Volume 1, Storming the Gap, a game designed by Keith Trachtin and published by Lock and Load Publishing. As you can see, there is a ton of great stuff that comes in this game. 8 geomorphic maps, 7 counter sheets, 21 player aids. That's insane amount of player aids. But the best part about the player aids, you don't obviously need every one of them during a game. It saves you from having to hit the rulebook constantly because that information is right there on the player aid card. And that's Lock and Load's intention, is to give you everything they can to make it simple and just get you playing. As they say, play the game, not the rules. You shouldn't have your head buried in a rulebook. You should be out there playing the game and enjoying that. So the player aid cards will help you with that. If you backed Kickstarter, you should be seeing yours very, very soon if you've not already. If you missed out on the Kickstarter, you missed out on a great deal. You're picking it up at retail, this is what you're going to get. It is well worth the price. It is well worth the experience too. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun, and I think you'll all enjoy it quite a bit. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.